Oh, God. It's fucking awful. Oh, wow.
Jackie, where are you from originally? Where'd you grow up?
I was born in San Bernardino, and I grew up in San Bernardino, and sometimes the San Fernando Valley with my grandparents.
Where were your parents?
My parents were on drugs. I know. I mean, I've met them and all that, but they, they weren't in my life because they were on drugs too.
Did you spend any time with them as a child? Or you just knew they were on drugs?
My dad, no. My dad, not at all, because he was on a heroin addict, and since I was like, I think, I don't know. I guess he left when I was like 5 months old, but I met him for the first time when I was 13. But until I got to be like an adult, I despised him, unfairly, mind you. But I mean, when you're young, you're ignorant. You know what I mean?
How was your childhood with your grandparents?
My childhood with my grandparents. I love both my grandparents. To be honest with you, like despite there was there was sexual abuse, happening. How my grandfather.
It's horrible for a girl.
It is, yeah. It's horrible for anybody, boy or girl.
Anybody.
To be honest with you, at any age too, like it's
How old were you when that was going on?
Oh, I was really young, I was really, really young, like about like the only way I know for sure is because I got molested by my neighbor who lived in the upstairs complex in San Bernardino when we moved. And I was 4.5 then. I was almost 5 when that happened. But that was happening for about 3 years until it stopped. And so I know that I was younger than 4 when it was happening at home with my grandpa. However, I know it sounds odd, but how do I say it? Okay, well, first of all, when you don't know that, when you don't know other people and how they live and all that, believe it or not, you really don't know you're suffering. You know what I mean? Like, it's normal, like Ethiopian people. Like, everyone's like, oh my God, they're starving. Like, no, they're just hungry. You know what I mean? It's normal for them.
Did either of these guys get caught? Your grandfather or the neighbor?
The neighbor, yes. My grandfather, no. But there was a big significant difference, like the neighbor upstairs, however, like he, both of those situations had like, their long-term effects, even to this day, like in relationships and all that, you know what I mean? But however though, like the neighbor, that one was, like, was very confusing and like, that it was like straight, like honestly, like like abuse. I mean, he didn't beat me up, but it was, it was abuse because it was like I was forced to do it, and I was also like, I'm not supposed to tell anybody, otherwise, he said he would, kill my brother or whatever, and when you're young, like, I didn't even want to tell anybody. For some reason, it felt like, wrong, even though you didn't do anything yourself, but that's how it goes.
Do you feel like those traumatic experiences affect you now as an adult?
Yes and no. They did for a very long time, even though I pretended that they didn't, But but yes, they did. Like I had to like confront them, so to speak, inside myself, and stop, because they were turning into, I developed some pretty how do you say it? Like embarrassing habits that I had to work with psychiatrists about, because I developed I had a problem with sorry, excuse me, with compulsively, you know, like stimulating, we'll call it stimulating myself, you know, everywhere. And I was, you know, I was young, you know. So, but I was doing it everywhere, you know, at school, like all throughout the day, and it was
Soft White Underbelly is about giving people a space to tell their stories, even when these stories challenge what we think we know. Ground News shows us different perspectives in the media, which is why Ground News is a perfect sponsor for my channel. In a world where algorithms censor much of the information we receive, some of the most important stories get missed from our news feeds. Ground News highlights local news from around the world, giving you an on-the-ground perspective that national coverage might miss. The app and website empowers you to form your own opinions by presenting you with every article published on any news story worldwide. My favorite part of the app is the data it gives you on each news source as you read it, such as where it leans on the political spectrum, a factuality rating indicating how subjective their printed reporting tends to be, and who funds it. I particularly like their blind spot feed, dedicated to showing you news stories that are underrepresented in the mainstream media. You can check this all out by scanning the QR code on screen or clicking the link below. It's easy to forget how much bias can shape the reality we live in. And in a world where our attention is constantly being fought over, my Vantage Plan easily helps me keep up with more important stories slipping through the cracks. So I encourage you to check them out at ground.news/SWU. Subscribe through my link to save 40% off their Vantage Plan. And by subscribing or even gifting it to someone you know, you're helping hold the media accountable and helping my channel directly. Thank you for watching.
you know, it was like, you know, it's disturbing for anybody to like see it happening, but nevertheless, you know, like I personally didn't know why I was doing those things, you know what I mean? I really didn't. I had no answer. And so the school, you know, they notified, you know.
Your grandmother?
Yeah, my, and unfortunately, you know, she, like I said, my grandma was, you know, my grandma, I don't know if I did say, but my grandma, I love her, but she was very harsh and like, you know, like cruel. I don't like to talk bad or anything, but when that happened and when they notified her, you know, I was like, you know, like she, you know, she kind of like, you know, like treated me really horrible about it. And then that sort of in a way kind of led me to be honest about what was happening to me, not with him, not with my grandpa, but with the neighbor upstairs. Mm-hmm. And when that happened, it was even worse because, you know, she was like, why wouldn't you say anything for so long, you know? You probably liked it, you know, it was crazy, you know, but you know, like, oh yeah, so like, so yeah, I had, you know, oh, plus she made me feel horrible about the things that I was, you know, the issue that I, that I developed, you know, like with my compulsivity issue. And so I had a huge shame built around, you know?
Sex?
In general, completely. It was extremely difficult for me to feel comfortable in, you know, any type of normal sexual situation with anybody, even people I loved and was comfortable with, you know? And, you know, like, luckily, I've met some great people in my life who you know, who helped me in a lot of ways, you know what I mean? Like patient with me, you know what I mean? And like, you know, encouraged me to kind of, you know, like admit that, you know, I had issues because of, you know, and it's better when you do confront them, you know, like they, I don't know if they'll ever go away. I haven't reached that point yet, you know, but I can honestly say, like, you know, I've made how do you say? I'm way better than I was before about it, you know? I still struggle with things here and there, you know, being comfortable in general, and period.
Did you ever talk with a therapist about it?
I had to because of because it was
Once the news came out?
Well, it was, it was like at school. I was doing it at school in front of, like classmates in front of.
Oh, you were doing it in class?
No, it was bad. Yeah, no, it was compulsively, and I was like, this between the ages of 5 and 9 that this was happening, like all the time. We're like at home, at school, like I said, and it's weird because like even to this day, it's like I don't know what led that to happen. You know what I mean? I really don't have a definite answer as to why my body felt like it needed to do that like all the time. You know what I mean? And it wasn't like it wasn't like being adult where you want to get off. It was like it was just something that I was just doing. You know what I mean? And strange. You know what I mean? But at the same time, things affect people in different ways, you know what I mean? But it's crucial to try to, to one day, like, go inside and, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, when people say forgiveness is for other people, not you, it's for you, not other people, it's the truth,
Mm-hmm.
Because.
Absolutely. What kind of teenager were you?
I was an angry teenager, very angry, and very resentful, and very rude, and I never had respect for anybody that was in authority over me. I believed that since we're all human, we were all equal. I still kind of struggle with that today, but I've now learned, so to speak, in social settings, like, like the proper norms, like, you know what I mean? But, all those go out the window if someone's, flat out disrespecting you. Nobody should ever do that. But at the same time, when I was growing up as a teenager and all that, like, nobody could tell me what to do. Nobody could, correct me on anything. And, if they tried, it would just be all bad, I got put in placements, I got put in mental hospitals, I got put in, yeah. That's like really, like, after about like 4th grade, that was like my new, so to speak, home, that's where I grew up, so to speak, in those places. Group homes and hospitals, and in between that, I would be running away as much as I could, of course, because those places are awful too, believe it or not.
When did drugs start for you?
12.
12.
Yep.
What drug was that?
The first drug I ever did, I snorted a line of cocaine. That was the first one I ever did. And then I smoked some pot with some friends or whatever. And I liked trying it all. And it really wasn't so much because of my issues. Like, I guess you could say the number one, like, what's the word, people? My number one trigger would be like boredom. I can't stand being bored. I can't. It makes it really hard. Like, it's like one of the biggest obstacles when I think about getting clean. Because I do think about it,
Have you ever tried?
Yes and no. I've made attempts to try to appease others. I also made I tried to make I tried 3 times to make, like, for real serious attempts when it came to my boy. I have my son. I got pregnant when I was 16, and I had him when I was 17. And that, like, no matter what, I know that, like, I pretty much have I've been a really selfish person my whole life, I've always been very selfish, very inconsiderate. The inconsiderateness wasn't so much me wanting to be, it just was there because I had,
But the drugs kind of bring on that kind of behavior.
Oh, big time. But even before they were there, I can honestly, I had to start being honest with myself, internally, in order to start fixing, the way that I was behaving in general. Because, when you're still acting ridiculous when you're, an adult, there's just no excuse for it, you know what I mean? Like, for real.
How many kids do you have?
Only one.
Just one. And where is he?
He is an adult already. Like,
who raised him?
Oh, me and his dad. Okay, when I gave birth to him or whatever, he was mine. He was my baby. He was my best friend. We never when his dad took him away from me at the age of 4, through court. No CPS or like anything got involved in that. And I wasn't. When I found out I was pregnant, I quit everything. I didn't even smoke cigarettes, and I did actually. That was like the longest clean time of my whole life, like being pregnant, and then for 2 years, like up until he was 2 years old. But his dad used, and when he was 2 and when I was 19, that was the first time ever I did heroin. And it was a wrap after that. Like, that was, and oh man, it's crazy because I used to hate it too. I would hate it. I hated heroin. But you know what, it's kind of ironic in a weird way because I used to be like evilly mean about like the subject. I'd be like, anyone that uses heroin, the biggest, ass like piece of shits in the world. If they use needles, they're even worse. And like they don't deserve to be talked to. They don't deserve to be looked like. Like I was very like judgmental about it and like harshly so. So when I did try it because when I did like my my ex-husband, rest in peace, my son's father is dead. He died of a heroin overdose in 2008. No, not 2008, excuse me, 2018, forgive me. 2018. What was I gonna say? What was I saying? Oh yeah. But at the time when he had been using already for about 3 years before I had tried it, and I never wanted to. I hated the drug. I hated that he was using it. But then we had gotten into our own personal issues that were getting extremely bad, and yeah, I don't know. I don't know. He was smoking it one day, and he had offered it to me a whole bunch of times, and I was just like, "You're fucking crazy. I don't do that shit," But then one of the days that he had offered it to me, I don't know, for some reason. It's not so much that I was depressed. I just kind of stopped caring about, a lot of things because just one of like bad times in your life. I don't know. But long story short, is that it was like. So I tried it, and again, yeah. I've wasted like most, since using it for the first time, I've wasted. I don't want to call it a waste completely because it's been my life, so to speak, and in between the addiction and all the experiences, I've like I said, I've been fortunate to meet good people. I've been fortunate to meet kind people. And I've gotten way more of an education, like so to speak, because I stopped going to school in 7th grade. Once I knew I could leave the property, it was over. I never went back. And but I love to read though, and I've like met a lot of people that worked in different kind of fields. That I've gained a bunch of, like bits of intelligence from here, and here, and I'm grateful for that. Plus, I've met people that actually genuinely cared about me and wanted me to put an effort into myself. And one of my best friends who actually died in December of 2023. For the 2 years that we were best friends before he died, that was he basically he basically taught me how it's incredibly important to value yourself and love yourself. And before that, I can honestly tell you, I still struggle with it, but before that, I hated myself, for no reason really. But
how old are you now?
35.
35. And you're living where now?
Right now, I live.
You're on the streets?
No locations, right? I don't gotta say location.
Yeah, but you're on Skid Row?
You just said the location. Well, no, I actually will sleep in different places. I had lived in I came back to the streets about the middle of 2024, and said, "Fuck it." You know, I went to LA with you know, someone that, I mean, he's my boyfriend, and I've known him since I was 20 years old, and he's been like, you know, the only like, you know, he's like the only thing really I have of what symbolizes a home, you know, at least until I can, you know, get my son back.
You're living in a tent?
People, I mean, how do I say it? People, like, I have like 3 tents that like right now are in a very good friend's, you know, living room, a closet. I can go and get them whenever I please, you know, but I mean, personally, I really like I really don't like the tent living. I'm not talking bad about anybody or anything, but it's just not, it doesn't appeal to me.
Not for you.
No, because, you know, like, you know, I mean, you know, like a lot of people can have problems with hygiene, and you know, I see a lot of people that like have tents and stuff. Again, I'm not being judgmental at all, but you know, they're like, you know, I see them itching themselves and all that, and I don't mean, it's just, it doesn't appeal to me at all, you know.
How do you make money now?
I steal, you know, and I sell things that I steal. I have a couple of people that I probably shouldn't even say this story, but you know, I have a few.
You resell it too?
Yes, but I also have, like, for example, I have a couple of friends that I've known for a very, very long time, and one of them is works at a warehouse. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing this, whatever. One of them works at a warehouse, and you know, when you're like, when you work places for like a long time, you know, little tricks of the trade of this and that, and you know, he's always wanting to make sure that I'm okay, or I have everything I need, even though he's just not, you know, he's kind of like a father figure, so to speak. He knows I use drugs, but nevertheless, you know, he helps me out with like a lot of different types of merchandise that is like, you know, that, because he drives a semi and gets the...
And fentanyl is your drug now?
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Because it replaced heroin, you know?
Yeah.
But...
Do you ever date men for money?
No, I don't, because, again, I don't judge anybody that doesn't. I really don't, but besides what happened to me when I was a child, sexual abuse has been something that's been like a reoccurrence throughout my entire life. If it wasn't, you know, if it didn't start, if it didn't start, you know, it's like started, you know, when I was real young, and like, it so to speak never stopped. Mind you, it wasn't like every single day my whole life, but throughout the years, you know, like yeah, like and I went to, when I was going to Mexico, because I lived in Mexico for about I think about like 3 years. I was raped by the police there, and that was awful, actually.
You were what?
Yeah, the police in Mexico. Mexico is a whole different world.
You said you were what by the police?
The police. I said I was raped by the police.
Really?
In Mexico. Yes. There's. I remind you, like like I said, Mexico is a completely different world than it is here. I personally don't believe that it happened either, because out of any. I think that it was like more to be hateful than it was for anything else, because yeah, I got stopped by the police in Mexico when I was coming back to where I lived with 2 other friends. They didn't ask me for my ID. They didn't ask me for my name. They literally just pulled over, grabbed me, and slammed me against the truck. They have trucks, you know, like police, and yeah, they slammed me against the truck and handcuffed me, put me in the truck in the little back part, and I was like I was like very confused, but mainly I was, I was like, oh my God, like what the fuck, like where's the jail? Where am I gonna go? I don't know my way around here, and I speak broken Spanish, like I can get by, but it's not. But anyway, so I was thinking about that stuff while we were in the car the whole time. For a long time, and when I realized, fuck, we've been driving for a long time, and I looked out the window. They were driving in a completely empty field. There was nothing. And at that moment, like, fuck, it's still, but yeah. So at that moment, I was like, oh my God, like, what the fuck? I knew at that moment that something was like really like wrong, I'll be honest with you, I thought I was gonna die. I really believed I was going to die, and so yeah, they pulled up they pulled me out of the car, and they started. One of them was more so the aggressor, mainly than the other one. But yeah, he just started like punching me, he beat me sufficiently to get me and turned me over, and basically then he started raping me in a very it was extremely painful, but more so it was really fucking confusing because I've always been told, and they know that Mexico's corrupt and all that, but it's like but like that was crazy. But then they left. After that had happened, they left. Now I'll be honest with you, I was even though that experience was fucking awful, I was so fucking happy to be alive.
You've been through some horrible things.
A lot of people have it happen. You know what I mean? But but I've also been through a lot of great things too. I really have. And
have you had any good experiences in your life?
Of course, that's what I mean.
Tell me about some of them.
Well, my son's my son, I believe, is the only reason that, how people, everyone's like, why am I here? Why was I born? Why was I created? Blah, 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 the whiners. But, I can honestly tell you, I know that, my son is, so smart. He's so beautiful. And talk about been through some horrible things. Unfortunately, that boy he's been through some really horrible experiences too at very young ages. Nothing sexually abused, but for example, he was when they took him from me just to be hateful because and because I had no family, I couldn't support him on my own. I was living with a friend. I lost custody of him, and that was when I, took a huge dive into drugs. After that, I'll be honest with you, I didn't give a shit about anything. I didn't care about anything anymore, and to not have to think about, how much I missed him all the time. It was the drugs helped the most, how do you say it? To escape, you know what I mean? And but it backfires, it does backfire because they also numb your they numb you, you know what I mean? And your emotions, your everything. And so, and then plus the withdrawal makes it extremely difficult to get off, Like I said, I tried to go into, real quick, my ex-husband who had taken him from me, about 2 years after he took him away from me, he got him taken by the state, because he had overdosed at the house that he was living at the time, and unfortunately his girlfriend at the time was a fucking complete idiot moron, and she got my son. She called the ambulance, and when they were on their way, my son was asleep in his room, and she took him out of his bed and put him in the car in the garage that was not attached to the house, and basically told him to stay in the car in the garage that's not attached to the house until someone came and got him, one of them. And the police, like when the ambulance got there and the police got there, they saw, I guess they found drug paraphernalia everywhere or whatever, and they checked the whole house, and they saw that, his bed looked like, it looked like, he was just sleeping in it. And they asked her owner, like, where's the kid here? And she was like, oh, he spent the night with his girl. She lied, like, all the way. They took her to jail, and she still wouldn't tell them. And when a cop went and searched the backyard area and went to the garage and opened the door, I mean, I wasn't there, of course, but this is all in the report that when the CPS report, and plus my ex-husband told me everything too. But yeah, after 3 hours of them being there, one of the cops opened the car door and he was on the floor right there, and that he was so young when that happened, so young. He was like, like 5 and about 6. And then he's had to personally call the ambulance on his dad ODing many, many times, and, had to stay on the phone with the ambulance while they would tell him things to do until they arrived to help his dad, because they would be the only ones in the house. And, I don't know, you know what I mean? And then he was always worried about me, but they would never let me see him because I don't know. And, it was, yeah.
Jackie, what do you worry about? What are you afraid of at this point in your life? Do you think you'll be down here for the rest of your life like this?
Oh, hell no. I have, like I said, when I said unfortunately because of fentanyl, I hate fentanyl. It's fucking horrible. Meaning, it's, I don't like it. Like the heroin, I had, my addiction was very bad with it because I actually, really enjoyed it. But the fentanyl, I cannot stand. It has, so I think, man, I have these plans and wanting to get clean, right? And I've already had 2 appointments with these doctors to make a plan out. It's just I know I just have to bite the bullet and do it. And believe me, but I guess there's like an underlying fear, but the everything of everything is like, I feel like I'm getting pushed closer to that day. God willing, it happens soon.
But both your parents were addicts, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So there's
my brother's he lives in Ontario. He's strung out on fentanyl too, and
yeah, there's definitely a genetic part of this. There's definitely a genetic component to this.
I'm not a scientist. I don't know how that works, but it's I guess but it's just all bad, There's a lot of people strung out on it. It's sad. A lot of people are dying.
Jackie, let me ask you one last question. What would you say is the most important lesson you've learned in your life?
Wow. Christ, that's hard. I've learned a lot of important lessons, but you know what? Let me think. I guess I could say the most important lesson I've ever learned so far is, I'm the only me that I'm ever gonna get. So, you can, no matter what, you know what I mean? It's like at the end of the day, no matter, you know what I mean? I'm not saying, it's like I have to make sure that, I do my best to try to keep, I gotta pull myself out of this, and I also have to make sure that, I'm, taken care of, because at the end of the day, everybody only has themselves. You can't rely on nobody. And, when you have to be okay with, not okay with who you are as in accept all the bad shit you do, but at least, you gotta accept, that, this is you. It's the only you you're gonna get. and, love yourself, love yourself. And by loving yourself, you want to do better for yourself. And I'm slowly trying to perfect that.
Good for you.
Thank you.
You're on the right track. Thank you, darling. Thanks.
No, thank you.
I wish you all the luck in the world. Thank you. When I was designing the first Soft White Underbelly book, I realized that there were so many great portraits that weren't going to make it into that book. They just wouldn't fit. And once I saw how well that first book sold, I knew I'd have to design a second book. This second book is finally ready to ship. Like the first one, this book has a collection of some of the best portraits from Soft White Underbelly, accompanied by a quote from that person's interview. This book features another group of Rebecca portraits, as well as a collection of color images of the Whitaker family, and plenty of others. You can order yours for $125 or $150 for a signed copy at softwhiteunderbelly.org. Again, like the first book, once this book is sold out, I will not be printing more of them. The portraits are what Soft White Underbelly is all about, and these two books contain the best of all that work. Thank you for watching.